Hey, it's your least favorite YouTuber here, Words of Wisdom, and welcome to a series that I'm going to be calling
Revenge of the Glitch.
God, I love explosions. I have no clue if anyone ever feels this way, but whenever I'm playing a video game, I'm always wondering what's beyond these walls, what's beyond these buildings. Are there any glitches I can perform so that I can completely break the game? I always open up my YouTube and then just search certain game glitches and then perform them myself to have some more fun. It's kind of like a DLC, except it was unintended. And a few weeks ago I was like, why not make a series out of this where I just completely break games and showcase it to the entire world? And just before you get your hopes up, this isn't gonna be a series that I'm gonna be uploading frequently, because if I ever wanna do a proper episode on this series, I probably need to complete the entire game. Because the glitches don't just happen in a single level, and in some games you need to unlock certain areas by completing the game further and further. And I mean, I don't wanna half-ass this, like, here are some glitches that are only happening in level 1, and yeah, I can't go to level 2 or 3 because I haven't completed the game. That's just not what I want to do. If I make an episode, I want to make it a good one. So, because I probably need to complete entire games in order to make an episode of this, I will probably upload these ones every few months, I'm not gonna lie. Anyway, today's episode is gonna revolve around the reason why my channel has blown up. I mean, it's what you all came for, so I might as well start this series off by uploading what you all want to see. At this point, if you've been a Pokemon fan for a while, you probably know about the missigno glitch in Generation 1. Whenever you perform this glitch, the most random shit happens and it basically breaks the entire game. There are plenty of videos on YouTube that cover the missigno glitch in Generation 1, but in this video I'm gonna try to bring missigno to a future generation. Kinda. You see, the missigno glitch was so game breaking that Game Freak noticed it immediately and they decided to fix it after Generation 1. But this doesn't necessarily mean missigno can't appear in future generations. It's just summoned a little differently, and it's just called a little differently. At first I wanted to do this in every generation in a single video, but after seeing what can be done with missigno, I decided to just do one generation in a single video, because that's enough content on itself. So in order to get missigno to appear, which is just a big question mark, all you need to do is use the code for the wild Pokemon modifier. If you set the value of the Pokemon you want to encounter to 000, you will encounter a question mark Pokemon. Now this isn't exactly missigno, but they're called deca marks. Whenever you change the encounter to a number that isn't registered in the Pokédex, it basically changes to a question mark, and there are a lot of different types of question marks that can appear. Without even hesitating a second, I went to Generation 3, to Pokémon Ruby. This generation got me the fucked up shit I was looking for. I'm gonna be building up the tension. First we're gonna cover the kind of boring versions of missigno, and then we will move up to the mid tier, which is kind of fucked up, but it's not that extreme yet. And then, to end the video, I'm gonna show you guys something that is gonna break the entire game, involving a version of missigno. So first things first, the boring version of missigno. There are actually a bunch of videos on this version of missigno, because it's very easy to encounter it. All you have to do is start the game, put on wall hacks, and then just go into an encounter without a starter Pokemon. Missigno will appear, and there you go, you have a missigno. Or a different version you can do is walk towards the Pokemon Center, use wall hacks to go to the trading area, and then press A on the computer. You will encounter a missigno, and the Pokemon you'll have is a missigno. However, this is just as boring as in Diamond, because once you catch it, it just disappears from your inventory and you can't actually use it. However, missigno has a different version in this game, which is a lot more interesting. In order to get this to work in Pokémon Ruby, you'll need the following codes. First of all, you'll need the master code for Pokémon Ruby. Then, you need two things that make the situation a little more convenient. The first thing you need is the 99 rare candy code, and the second thing you need is the 99 master ball code. Don't activate these at the same time because they'll cancel each other out. So, just so you know. And then, the final thing you need is the code for the wild Pokemon modifier. In Ruby, the standard template is 83007D22, and then after that you can put in a 4-digit code, and it can be any code you want. And you get an encounter basically based on that code. So for this particular version of missigno, you'll need the code 0113. Once again, don't activate this code together with the rare candy or the master ball code, because it will not work and they basically cancel each other out. Once we get an encounter, this 2 question mark Pokemon will appear. And yes, this does look a lot different than the regular missigno, and I'm not quite sure why. People on the internet have suggested that this is a testing Pokemon, and it actually isn't harmless for your game, it just doesn't have a sprite. But it looks kind of funny with these two question marks, I'm not gonna lie. After you catch it, this is its Pokédex entry. And even though the letters are a little weird and he's a little heavy, this isn't that extreme. Even though it's a glitched Pokemon, it doesn't have any Pokédex entry and it doesn't have a sprite at all. Its summary isn't even that weird. Aside from having no ability, no description, and only knowing the move Tackle, the rest of its summary page is completely normal and it doesn't glitch the game at all. It also has a custom cry that definitely belongs to a certain Pokemon, but I was too lazy to research which cry this is, so if anyone in the comments knows whose cry this is, then let me know. Anyway, since this wasn't a real Pokemon, I was excited to break the game with this. The first thing I obviously did was spawn in the 99 rare candies and level it up to level 100. But during the entire level up process, nothing happened. Literally nothing. The only noticeable thing is its insane stats. It has insane speed, special attack and attack, but other than that it didn't learn any attack, it didn't glitch out, it didn't do anything, it just straight up went to level 100 without doing anything. So here I was. Just me and my level 100 question marks. Obviously, I had to challenge the Pokemon League with this, because that would definitely break the Hall of Fame. Except, the battles went pretty well, and in the Hall of Fame, it just showed up as a bunch of question marks. Why? Why does this work? At this point I was already bored out of my skull. Nothing happened, nothing in this game was broken except for the fact that I was owning a Pokemon that didn't exist. But there was one more thing I was gonna try. The Pokemon contest. But once again, nothing happened, other than the audience completely disliking the appearance of my question marks. I straight up could enter the contest, participate in the contest, and then lose because I only know one move. Then, before completely giving up on this version, I tried to breed it with a Ditto. However, when I put them in the daycare, the old man told me that they'd rather play with other Pokemon than with each other. And according to a bunch of sites, that means there is a 0% chance on an egg. That was basically the final nail in the coffin for me. This Pokemon wasn't gonna break the game. It's straight up something that Game Freak intended, and I'm seriously on board with the theory that this is a testing Pokemon and it doesn't break the game whatsoever. I can't wait for the next challenge videos on this website. Can I beat Pokémon Ruby with only question marks, ... exclamation mark, not clickbait? Yeah, that's not gonna happen, it's horrible. Before moving on to something else, I caught another one just to compare the stats with the first one I caught. And hey, their stats are actually a little different. So, that's the only thing you can really get out of this. Their stats aren't the same, but it doesn't break the game at all. Anyway, let's move on to the more fun versions of missigno. Like I said, any code that you enter that isn't in the actual Pokédex is considered a certain version of missigno or a Deca mark. And a bunch of these versions crash the game. But I was able to get an encounter a bunch of times, and most of these versions of missigno do a bunch of weird shit. First off, we're starting with Deca mark 2829. The only thing this really does is once you get into an encounter, you can actually catch it. But once you catch it, you go to the Pokédex registration screen, and the game crashes. That's all it does. Nothing else. Deca mark 01B8, however, has a little bit more to offer. It's technically the same encounter as 2829, but this time once we go to the Pokédex entry, it somehow evolves. And now, before showing you its summary, I need to tell you something. If you decide to mess around with Deca marks after this video by yourself, don't press summary on the missigno, because once you get to the summary screen, your entire screen will crash. What you need to do is you need to go to an actual Pokemon, in my case Pelipper, and go to the second page of its summary screen. Once you go down to the missigno, it won't crash. It's just the first page of its summary that crashes the entire game. So keep that in mind. Anyway, once I pressed summary, nothing was really different. It just looked like a regular summary screen. I mean, I'd love to play through a game with my favorite type of Pokemon.
Double kick.
Oh, and also, it has no moves. And you know what I love the most about my favorite Pokemon, Double Kick? The fact that its typing is Gem, it's just so versatile. All jokes aside, this summary is pretty odd. And once I enter this screen, page 1 of its summary, my game crashed. Then I decided to do the same thing as with my question marks and feed it rare candies, except it crashed when I gave it a single one. Yay. Then, moving on to 01B9. It's pretty much the same as the previous one, except this time, its entry is a big brother. Kirlia. I mean, Kick. Obviously, whenever Double Kick evolves, it becomes Kick. Duh, how could I be that stupid? Aside from the weird summary on its first page and it having no moves, it wasn't really different however. Next up, 01BD. I mean, Shroomish. I mean, nobody. Even though this Pokemon is a total nobody, it sure is efficient to use, okay? Once you use a rare candy on it, it just jumps up 30 levels. That's what I call efficiency. Except, the game crashes after. Okay, maybe the previous version wasn't as useful. I mean, 30 levels is nice, but crashing the game isn't really convenient. But I promise you, this next one is actually really useful. Once you enter Deca Mark 01D0, you get the Dex entry for Gyarados. And Gyarados in missigno form is actually really efficient, because it only takes 3 rare candies to get it to level 100. But in case that isn't efficient enough for you, once you enter Deca Mark 01BF, you get the Dex entry for Slackoff. And this doesn't take 3 rare candies to get it to level 100, it only takes 2 rare candies to get it to level 100. But if you still feel like that's a waste of your rare candies, then fine, I have the solution for you. Once you enter Deca Mark 01C6, you get the Dex entry for Ninjask. And no, this doesn't take 3 rare candies, this doesn't take 2 rare candies, but it only takes a single rare candy to get it from level 1 to level 100. Now that's what I call efficiency. But there's a major problem with these Deca Marks. They have no moves. And when they have no moves, this efficiency doesn't matter because they can't hit anything. But don't be sad, I have the solution for that as well. Once you enter Deca Mark 01 CD and you capture it, you get the nickname screen in battle, which is really weird. And then, after that, it literally has no Dex entry, it just goes back to the overworld. But even though that's pretty odd, and its name is DLE instead of an actual Pokemon, this is a very useful Deca Mark or missigno. Once you level DLE to level 100, it almost has 500 defense. But that really isn't why this Pokemon is so useful. Once you rare candy this thing up to level 100, it learns great moves such as Outrage and Earthquake, and this thing would really be usable to beat the entire game with. I mean, who needs rare candy efficiency when you can have an actual poke that can actually hit things? But what if I told you I have a Deca Mark that's way better, something you've never seen before? This Deca Mark, I mean missigno, is called 01C0. Once again, it's level 3, and 01C0 apparently equals Vigoroth. I mean, T-Tech. Yes. Upon giving this Generation 9 beast, T-Tech, a bunch of rare candies, it started learning the randomest moves ever. It learned Horn Attack, Beat Up, Flatter, Thunder Punch, Conversion, and then at level 63, this Generation 9 beast learned the first Generation 9 move. And Game Freak has told me that I'm the first one that is allowed to reveal this. At level 63, it learned the overpowered move, Turn Rate Increases. Now what this does is pretty simple, right? It crashes your game. And the sound is... well, just listen for yourself. It's like music to my ears, really. All jokes aside, how the fuck does this happen? How the fuck does it learn a move that doesn't exist? I don't know. Anyway, after retrying this once again, I noticed it didn't learn any new moves after this bug move, and that's pretty much it. But hey, you heard it here first folks, the first Generation 9 move, Turn Rate Increases, which crashes your game and makes your audio sound disturbing. Other than that, there wasn't anything worth mentioning in any Deca Mark I tried next. Most of them either crashed the game, jumped up 50 levels by using a rare candy, or they just learned a bunch of random ass moves. There was one more thing that's worth mentioning though. At some point I entered Deca Mark 01C4. Once I caught it, it was an Alakazam Dex entry, but that's not the weird thing about this Deca Mark. After I captured it, I pressed the summary screen, viewed its stats, and then I left. And suddenly, I was locked into the bottom of the screen and I just couldn't leave. The game still worked perfectly fine, so if you want to do a really strange run of Pokémon Ruby where you can only see May's head for some reason, then be my fucking guest. Enjoy. Now that was a bunch of fun, wasn't it? But I'm about to make it even better. Because we're gonna move to the final part of this video, where I basically break the entire game. To get this to work, we need two specific deca marks, 88A6 and 2007. Let's just start off by using 88A6 on itself. 88A6 is different than the other missignos I've showed off in this video. For starters, it has its own dex entry. It actually looks like a description for missigno, because it says there's no data found yet, etc, etc. It actually looks pretty decent instead of just being a description for a random ass Pokemon. Now, that doesn't really say much. The summary screen is still the same as the previous deca marks I've showed off, and compared to these other deca marks, there's nothing significantly different. Once you exit this summary, however, things start getting messed up. Once you exit back to the menu, your trainer card starts looking a little weird. I don't remember my name being like this. Once you press the training card, you see what this missigno can actually do. Everything, and I mean literally everything, is messed up. I have 0 hours of playtime, I have a non-existent ID, and I suddenly changed gender within a couple of seconds. After looking at this mess and exiting the menu completely, you'll find out that magic has turned you completely invisible. You can walk around for a bit, but for some reason after doing a certain number of steps, you just get stuck in between invisible walls, even though you walked past the exact same spot like 3 steps ago. After resetting, I decided to do the exact same thing again. Except after bugging my entire game, I flew to the league. Once I arrived at the league, I wasn't invisible, but I had indeed changed gender. My trainer card wasn't lying, I can actually change my gender within seconds. That's some real 2019 shit, man. After feeling more masculine than ever, I decided to check my bag and I went to the Pokeball section. In here, you'll find out that you possess an item, which not just crashes your game, but also completely closes your emulator, while showing the unsupported BIOS message. If anyone can tell me why a corrupt ROM is able to completely close my emulator, then please let me know, because I don't understand how a fucking ROM can do that. Anyway, that's just 88A6 on itself. But let's make it even more fucked up. Like I said, in order to do this, we need to combine these two specific deca marks. So let's add deca mark 2007. Once you've captured both of them, put them after each other in the Pokemon menu. This isn't part of the particular glitch, but I figured out that if you check 88A6 summary first, and then move to 2007 and go to its first page, the game will be like, nah, and instead of freezing the entire game like with the previous missignos, it just resets itself. Anyway, that wasn't part of the glitch I wanted to show off. What I'm about to do with these two deca marks is I'm going to combine their summaries. And I'm not just going to combine their summaries, I'm going to combine their summaries in a specific spot. You have to perform this in this exact same spot, in front of the Oldale Pokémon Center. I've tried doing this in other spots, and every time I tried it, I just got spawned in between a bunch of random trees, and I couldn't do anything, I couldn't move or whatever because I was just stuck between invisible walls. Anyway, once you're in the right position, you want to summarize 88A6 first. Then go to 2007 summary and exit. Once you exit, you've been teleported in between random trees. But once you press up, you'll enter an invisible door. It will randomly teleport you to Route 103, and you'll spawn while surfing, even though none of your Pokemon know surf. So if you for some reason want to use surf without having any gym badges, then here you go. If you summarize them the other way, however, by summarizing 2007 and then 88A6, the game just breaks entirely. Once you've summarized 2007 and then 88A6 and exit, you will once again be able to enter an invisible door. This time, however, it won't teleport you to Route 103. Once you press up, you will enter the Oldale Pokémon Center, and this is exactly why you need to stand in the exact same spot. Once you enter this Pokémon Center, you'll notice your sprite has changed just a little, because now you're a Wynot. But you're not just a Wynot. With every step forward, your sprite will change. Your sprite will cycle between Skitty, Wynot, Baltoy, Altaria, Gulpin, Azurill, and whatever the fuck this is. I'm assuming it's Machamp. And even though there's no way you can continue this entire game, man, it would be so fun to play an entire game with just changing sprites like this. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Now, if you thought your trainer card was fucked up by just using 88A6, then have a look at this. Once you go to your trainer card, you'll find out you're now promoted to being a flower lady, who's for some reason stupid rich and skipped every single gym. She just went straight to the 7th gym and beat those twins up. But I'm not really surprised that she was able to do that after playing for 13,621 hours. But there's one thing I'm really mad about when looking at this trainer card. The game decided to give me a terrible Link Cable battle record. I mean 9,999 wins and 8,207 losses, like, that's pretty bad. That's almost one loss for one win. But I mean, our 9,999 win streak in the battle tower kinda makes up for it. Anyway, after checking this completely normal trainer card, once you exit, you've been downgraded to just being 10% of a male head. An easy fix to this is just entering your bag and leaving it again immediately. And then we're back to being a simple male sprite, instead of the May we started with. But now it's time to check what else these Decamox broke. Once you press the bag and go through your items, you'll find out you have at least 1228 of a certain item. The use of this item must be very complicated, because Dad's advice takes about 30 seconds to get through, only for him to tell us there's a time and place for everything. Thanks for the explanation, Dad. Once you leave the Pokémon Center, you won't be the boring ass male sprite, you will just change back to the cycling Pokémon sprite. Then I decided it was time to explore and I wanted to fly away with Pelipper. When I pressed the summary screen, however, I figured out I now had 2 leads. I really wish these Pokémon would stop fighting for the first place. As if these 2 Pokémon fighting for the first spot wasn't bad enough, I wasn't able to use Fly, because the only badge I supposedly obtained at this point was the 7th badge after 13,621 hours of playtime. And once I went into a single patch of grass and got into an encounter, I noticed that my game just crashed every time I got into a battle. So this really meant that if I wanted to get anything done, I would have to get 0 encounters because otherwise I would have to start over. Luckily there's this beautiful thing called wall eggs and I went on my way. The first thing I wanted to check was if these 2 idiots were able to produce an egg. However, when I talked to the old man, he gave me the same message as last time. The 2 prefer to play with other Pokemon than each other, which means there's 0% chance on an egg. Hooray! While I started exploring a bit, I started noticing some really strange things. I mean, I don't think this is what a berry is supposed to look like, and since when is there a secret base here? Like, who the fuck is this guy? Anyway, the next thing on my list was entering a Pokemon contest. I talked to the lady at the desk, went through all the necessary steps in order to enter, picked my Pokemon, and then... once again, music to my ears. After redoing the glitch, I decided to move back to the starting town to show my mom what I had become. On my way there, I noticed the professor had managed to clone himself, the neighbors were moving as well, and my mom was stuck in the door, which was all perfectly normal to me. I went inside the professor's lab and I'm pretty sure this guy isn't supposed to stand next to him, like... who is this guy? After disappointing the professor with catching and seeing 0 Pokemon, I decided to rescue my mother from the dangerous door. However, it turned out she just wanted to give me my running shoes. I don't know why you had to fuse with a door in order to do that, Mom, but thank you. After this very generous gift, I decided to check how my neighbor was doing. Once I entered, I noticed my parents had already made friends with the new neighbor. They were just having a cup of tea while the Machoke were moving everything. Then I went upstairs in order to greet my rival, and for some reason my mom followed me, which was kinda weird. Even though I picked May, my neighbor and rival was also May. And once I talked to her, she just disappeared while making the sound of exiting a building. After this I wanted to go downstairs again and maybe have a drink with my parents and my neighbor, but my creepy ass fucking mom was blocking the door, and I was soft locked. Next up, I reloaded my save and got the bike from the bike shop. I went outside, got on the bike and... Watson, you okay? After that, I went for a small bike ride and I noticed a lot of the sprites were kind of fucked up because of this. But other than that, there was nothing really extreme about it. My next plan was to wallhack myself into the museum. I had to pay 50 Pokédollars for entry, but with my 805 million Pokédollars, I think I'm just fine. I went to the second floor and the same thing happened as with my mom. This time, however, it was Maxi blocking the door and not my mom. And thus, I once again softlocked myself. Next up, I wanted to see what would happen if I beat the Pokemon League with these two in my team. Since these were different than other missignos and they had their own Pokédex entry, they didn't exist. So that would surely crash the Hall of Fame, right? I used the first missigno from this video to beat the entire league again, and I easily got to the Hall of Fame. The Hall of Fame popped up, and the first Pokemon to pop up was the bunch of question marks. Then 8886 turned out to be a Ledian, and 2007 turned out to be a Squirtle. This pretty much feels like I just randomized my Pokemon, rather than just spawning in a bunch of missignos. I don't know what I was expecting to happen, but it wasn't just random ass entries in the Hall of Fame. I kind of expected this entire screen to look buggy and shit. Just for science, I decided to beat the entire league again, but sadly, their entries didn't change. So I was stuck with a fake Ledian and a fake Squirtle. Yeah, those two really aren't the go-to Pokemon I wanted. After doing all this stuff, I realized I hadn't tried rare candying them yet, like I did with my previous missignos. 2007 wasn't really that interesting, he just jumped up a bunch of levels and quickly got to level 100, but 8886 was actually kind of interesting. After giving 8886 a single rare candy, it started evolving, and it turned out to be a Beedrill. And yes, I just said that 8886 was a Ledian in the Hall of Fame. So according to this game, according to these missignos, Ledian evolves into Beedrill. Yes. That seems completely correct. Anyway, there was one final noticeable thing. And for this, we're moving to the Weather Institute. On the bridge to the right of the Weather Institute, we found Brandon staring into the distance like the little emo boy he is. I wasn't able to talk to him whatsoever, I guess he was too focused on staring into the distance, but when I moved to Fort Tree City, he suddenly noticed my presence. He walked up to me, stared at me, and then...
Bye, have a great time!
Well, okay. And then, in case you were like, hey, the previous secret base, that is 100% there. Well, on the way to Lilikov City, I found another one, and I am 100% certain this secret base isn't there. Anyway, that's pretty much gonna do it for this glitch. I'm sure there are lots of other places you can go to, and have glitchy people, and people disappearing and such. But I just wanted to show you some brief highlights of what you can do with this glitch. So if you want to explore the entire world of Pokémon Ruby yourself, then just follow the steps I talked about in this video, and enjoy. And just before I end this video, of course, this wasn't possible without the internet, so I'm gonna include a link to the guy that wrote the article, and I'm gonna include a link to the video that gave me this idea in the description as well, because it's only at 3,000 views, and it's literally what made this video so entertaining. I mean, did you really think I came up with combining these codes on myself? Of course not! Anyway, thanks for watching episode 1 of Revenge of the Glitch. Messing around with these little question mark fuckers in this video was a lot of fun, and I might even do it in different generations if people like this video enough. If you'd want to see that, let me know in the comments down below, and if you want any games to get covered in this Revenge of the Glitch series, then let me know, because I'm really open to anything. I just want to break games and have fun with it, because making this video has been one of the greatest experiences on YouTube for me, and I'd really love to keep making these. So yeah, if you like this video, then definitely leave a like rating. If you liked even more, then definitely hit that subscribe button. And I'll see you in the next episode of
Revenge of the Glitch.
Later.